Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard on this Monday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you had a great weekend enjoying week one of college football, the NFL, all kinds of stuff to get to, baby. It was upset city in college football. The Colts kissed their sister. Scott Frost is gone. Can't even make. Nebraska is so pissed off at Scott Frost that they didn't want to wait 3 weeks to save $7.5 million. That's how pissed off that Nebraska is at Scott Frost. Personally, I wish that they would have waited and given me the $7.5 million or whatever. I'm like, wow, you got that kind of bread to throw around. I'll come, whatever. But lots to talk about. Big weekend of college football. NFL is underway. Major League Baseball. Pujols hits 697. The Cards set a unbelievable streak. So the NFL, the Colts, yeah, lots of stuff to talk about, brother. Dustin Schutte here today. Don Fischer joins us. So it's a full day, brothers.
Yeah, and it was an exciting weekend for college football. I don't know if you saw this. Immediately went through my mind when I heard the Scott Frost news. Did you see that video of Ed Orgeron explaining his termination? Because that was a great story.
No, I did not.
They said so. He must have been speaking at like a football clinic or something. He was in front of a lot of people, and he said. He got called into the AD's office. The AD told him, your contract buyout is whatever it was, $15 million, I think. And he goes, how quick you want me out and which door you want me to go out? So when somebody's offering you $15 million to not coach, you take that baby and you run.
I guarantee it. I promise you. Where's the suitcase?
Exactly.
Absolutely. But Scott Frost, a little different for him, probably. I think that this is something he's going to take personal. I mean, that he could not get this job done. But I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that he couldn't get it turned around this season. I'm shocked on how badly it has gone. Yeah. It has just gone from bad to worse.
It really has. I mean, it does not look like this team made any progress. Offensively,
Progress.
They break out Jim Mora. They
lost at home to
Georgia Southern. They looked much better offensively. They look horrendous on defense. It's almost a complete 180 as to what they were last year. And you look at some of the defensive numbers. Their defense kept them in a lot of ball games, but they weren't as fantastic as they were hyped up to be. So. To me, one of two things happened here. I have no inside knowledge, so this is not a report. This is just me being just guessing as to what happened. Either one thing came in, a booster or group of boosters came in and said, "We'll cover the $7.5 million." Because his buyout did drop on October 1st, we'll come in and cover that half. We got to make a change now. Or Trev Alberts has a lot of respect for Scott Frost and said, you know what, you're done after October 1st, so we can either get rid of you now and you can take the $15 million, or you can continue to coach and then you're gone and your payout decreases. To me, one of those two things happened. I don't think it was – I think there was some sort of conversation there, whether it was a booster or whether it was the AD talking with Scott Frost, but I don't know that. That's just my guess as to why it happened now versus, like you said, in a couple of weeks when his buyout cuts in half after that Indiana game.
Yeah, I just think it's ignorant to pay $15 million when you can wait 3 weeks and save yourself $7.5 million. I mean, it's almost disgusting to do that personally.
That's why I think a booster, a group of boosters got involved and said, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We'll cover it. That's just my hunch, because that's a lot of money.
I still think it's disgusting. I'd still might say, well, instead of that, why don't you take and we'll wait another 3 weeks and we'll take that donation though and send it to the Children's Hospital.
You could do that.
Yeah. That'd be nice, huh? But he gone. So that's something we'll be talking about. Wisconsin. We'll talk about Wisconsin for a second. From now on, I will always hate Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wisconsin cost me a $2,500 payout.
Woo!
I bet just 2 parlays, not very much, just didn't take a lot. Because a $50 one with the 3-team one, and I bet I went large on the other, a whole $150 on the other one with the 4-team one. Guess who's the only team that didn't cover?
I'm going to guess Wisconsin. Not only did they not cover, they didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. They're both. They cost me both.
Yeah, that's
that cost me winning $2,500. Seriously,
that's insane.
That loss.
Let me say that of the scores I saw this weekend, that was the most shocking to me.
Well, it wasn't. It was shocking to me too. I'll promise you that. But it was more.
But I mean, like,
than it was shocking.
You look at some of the scores. Iowa State beat Iowa, not overly shocking. App State beat number 6 Texas A&M. I wasn't shocked by that at all.
Got a lot of upsets to talk about.
Yeah,
but
exactly. But this one was the one.
Though, the Indiana game.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way. I'm like, there's no way Idaho was that good.
Right.
They were so bad last year. Indiana beat them. Scored Indiana's terrible offense. He scored 56 on this team last year. You don't get that much better in a season.
But they did.
And I'm like, well, there's no way that who was the team that they played?
Washington State.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, there's no way Washington State can be that good.
Right.
So I'm like, 17 was a little much, but oh my God. But that shows you how much, a little bit why Indiana struggled in the first half.
Yep.
Against a team that's probably a little bit better than you thought they were. But how about how Indiana came out and just took care of business in the second half in that game? I
think Tom Allen went in the locker room and lit a fire under their ass at halftime, because he was not pleased in that speaking after the game. I mean, he knew. Here's what I think legitimately happened. I think there was such an emphasis on that Illinois game. I think Idaho is much improved. I don't think Indiana would have beat them 56-7 again. But I also think that there was this mentality that we're going to win this game. Like you and I talked about, Indiana's going to win this game. I think players had that mentality in that game. And then in the second half realized, oh crap, we're in a dogfight now. We've got to strap up our helmets and start hitting some people. Otherwise, I don't have an explanation for how poorly the difference between the first half and the second half.
Well, I think they're a little bit better than they thought. I mean, they're better than I thought.
I do too. I agree. I just think the way that the difference between the first half and the second half, indicates to me Indiana came out and thought they were just going to roll their helmets out and win this game. I think that's part of the mentality. Again, I agree that Idaho's better. I don't think Indiana would have ever won this game 56-10, but I just don't think they took them quite as seriously as they should have.
I agree with you, man. Don't forget, brought to you by our great friends from the Wild Club. Make sure you go and sign up at your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Start earning Wild rewards today. Wild Club members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your mobile phone. Places like BB's Market, where we were last week. Go Teen, of course. Can't wait to do that again. But make sure you sign up. And Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Forrest is with us already. Dave G. Robert is already on. Travis, Michael, Five Lefts, Rudy. Everybody jumping on early and often. Mike, he'll take $1 million buyout. Jesse, John C. already here. The Sultan is on as well.
All right.
Smart makes it smart. Says he never puts himself in a position where an 18-year-old can affect his financial life, except for his kids. He's already got 4 kids.
Great point. Great point.
Exactly. But yeah, lots of upsets in college football this weekend. We'll talk about that. Fun. You mentioned. Let's see. App State is bigger, much bigger than me. That was a gigantic upset. I mean, that may be their biggest yet, and they have a long list of upsets. They've gone into the big house, baby, and beaten Michigan. Now they've gone down and beaten Michigan. Wasn't number 6 when they did that. This was the number 6 Texas A&M team that has an NIL bank of over $25 million.
Right. Well, Michigan was number 5 when they got upset by App State.
Oh, they were number 5?
They were number 5.
I think that was a weak paper number 5.
That it was because Michigan lost the next week, I think, to Oregon or something. Like they didn't they did not start that season off well. But and Matt, like all this hype for Texas A&M, first of all, I was not surprised by that outcome because App State plays teams very well every single year. And you looked at how they moved the ball against North Carolina. And I know North Carolina's defense is not good. But App State, they always have players. They always have great scheming. Somehow they always have a great coach. Like it's just a well-oiled machine. And I've never been overly impressed with Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher. They've been solid, but they haven't been great. But imagine
no one was impressed with Florida State under Jimbo Fisher.
Correct. Other than that one year they won it all. I mean, even the year they got in, they were undefeated and got into the playoff. They got rocked.
They won it all. That's
well, but I mean, look, I mean, Scott Frost had a 13-0 season, and nobody. I mean, that's
he.
It's not always an indication. You can have one great Ed Orgeron. You can have one great year. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks of Ed Orgeron as one of the greatest coaches in college football history.
What door you want me to go out of?
Exactly. I imagine signing Texas A&M just signed the greatest recruiting class in the history of college football, or at least in the time that they've been tracking it, and they got beat at home by a group of 5 team. It's a very good group of 5 team, but they still got beat, and it takes some of that luster off the Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher feud, the Alabama Texas A&M Bowl.
Speaking of Alabama, about Texas, they gave it a run.
Yeah,
is this going to be the year of the upset in college football? I mean, I don't remember this many big time upsets in a week. Not especially. It was fun.
It was
fun.
Marshall over Notre Dame.
I mean, come on, we are Marshall. I mean, that was fun one. But I think Notre Dame is. Well, they played challengingly at Ohio State. Are these teams just better? Do we have parity now because of the transfer portal?
That's what I'm starting to think a little bit because of the transfer portal. We might start to see a little more parity. That I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's going to take more time. But this weekend is a great indication that maybe we do have more parity in college football than we've had in the past. I mean, we'll find out. It's a long season. We're only in week 2, but it's already a ton of fun. I'm already jacked up for week 3 because of what we've seen these first 2 weeks.
Yeah. Let's see. Where did I just see that stat that
crappy day in the NFL? Oh,
well, hold on. Jim. Oh yeah. Well, I just took it down. Nebraska, the record, they were 214-0 when scoring 35 or more points
at home
until Saturday.
Crazy.
Now they're that's also there's a major league record that similar to that we'll talk about that involves the Cardinals. Major League Baseball teams were 817-0 with a 4-run lead in the 9th inning. Now it's
Really?
8-17-1. It's probably
That seems
this
low.
season. That's this season, I'm sure.
Oh, gotcha.
Now it's 8-17-1 as the Cards score 5 in the 9th, come back and win 6-5 over the lowly Nationals. Pujols, it's number 697 along the way.
Damn.
Yes,
Creep
Rex,
up.
you heard right. Frost is gone. There's been a warming. There's been a heat wave in Lincoln, and frost has melted. It's all gone. Tana says he's shaking his head. All the fickle fans Fish was talking about, you literally watched ranked teams lose to group of 5 teams, and IU is gutting out wins from the jaws of defeat and still hating on IU. Talking about some fans, I would say. Yeah, man, you got to take any win as a win.
Exactly.
Any win is a win. Speaking of Fish, he's up next. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with him right after this here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Go Team and the Wow Club.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're a business. Good morning, Don. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. If you can hear me, I'm actually trying to
Take your time, brother.
I'm trying to get my my cord here unwound so it's not as difficult to screw with.
Hell of a weekend.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we're going to noon kickoff next week because I'm
Boy,
still tired from the
I
first
am
2
done
frickin'
with
nights
those
of broadcasting.
I am done with those 8 p.m. games.
You talk about being tired. Wait till you get to be 6 years old, and you got to stay up and do a broadcast for 5.5 hours, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, they're not fun, and I can't. It's just, I bet it's on The Voice.
Actually,
Hopefully.
the voice held up pretty good. It's
better than everything else.
The rest of the body that's not worth a crap right now.
Need The Voice to carry you to the car.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm really I'm tired today. I was tired last week on Monday, and I'm tired again today. It's just like
It does. It makes it hard to start.
yeah, it does.
I'm not kidding. It does. It wears me out too.
I got to get a different light in here. My light, for whatever reason, is not very bright. Can you see my face okay?
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Oh,
There's
everybody's screwed now. If they're going to see it good, that's not good. I got to get it darker in here then.
There's a $25 light you can get that sits on a tripod that I use. Oh yeah, it's inexpensive. It's very easy. It's like
I got a light. I have a light that's down here someplace, but you have to clip it onto something, and I don't have anything really good to clip it on for whatever reason. So I got to figure that out at some point. Either that or I got to get a spotlight over there in the corner.
The new studio.
Yeah.
All right, 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and bring us back in.
Hey, this is John, the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
What Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday, brought to you by the great folks at Southern Stone Restaurant, home of the Tom Allen Show each and every Wednesday night, hosted by Don Fischer, who's with us right now. Don, how are you, sir?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing fine. Tired, but doing fine.
Yeah, surviving these back-to-back Saturday night 8 o'clock games. We were talking about it in the break. I was lamenting it myself. I'm like, dude, getting home at 1:30 in the morning, and then you've got to drive a little further drive on top of that. It takes 2 or 3 days to recover from that for me. So I can imagine for you as well. Those are not fun.
No, they're not. I mean, they're fun to do the game. It's not fun to do a 5.5 hour broadcast and 4 hours plus of that is on the air doing play by play, which, that's the crazy part of this thing right now. These games are just taking so long. I watched the Colts game yesterday. They played in overtime and they were done in 3 hours and 45 minutes. I mean,
Yep.
You're sitting there going, why can't they do that in college? Well, I'll tell you one reason why, because they stop the clock after every first down and move the chains and all that. Well, they don't do that in the NFL. So there's a big factor right there with all the first downs that are picked up in pro football games and college football games, that kind of thing. They've got to find a way to shorten these things because the fans, I mean, I understand that, God bless the fans who came to the ball game on Saturday with the rainstorm that we had and how difficult it was to be sitting up there. The student body, of course, was having a ball that did show up, but only half of them showed up on Saturday night. But at the same time, it was a deluge. And, of course, the 30-minute start time delay and all that kind of thing all played into it as well. But these games are going well over 4 hours, and there's just no excuse for that. And, of course, television commercials now are 3 minutes long, just about in almost every case. All of these things play into it. They got to find a way to change this, or they're going to lose just people just because they don't want to sit there and watch it for 5 hours.
And Don, before we jump into the IU game, it's funny. I was at the Florida-Kentucky game this past weekend, and my brother and I were having this exact conversation. There was a 4-play stretch where one player got injured. I think actually 2 players got injured, and ESPN, they got off the field. I think it was cramping, but they got off the field relatively quickly, and ESPN still took a 3.5-minute television timeout. And another thing that I think the NFL does really well, Don, is they do those the commercials in the game. So you can air a 30-second commercial during,
right,
when things are moving on. So I agree with you. We sat there for 4.5 hours. Most of the NFL games were done in 3 hours and 15 minutes to 3 hours and 45 minutes. And those were exciting down to the wire type of games.
Right.
I completely agree with you. They've got to figure something out because sitting in the stands for 4.5 hours with somebody's knees in your back, I mean, that'll take a toll on any fan.
Well,
no,
that's a good
NFL game that goes to overtime, not just overtime, but completes the overtime because it ends in a tie and it still ends in quicker fashion. That's a problem.
Right. Exactly. No question about that. The good news is I sit in a broadcast booth and nobody's knees are in my back. So I'm in good shape there.
There you go.
Thank good Jake, your technical producer, sits up high. You don't have to worry about that.
Right. Exactly.
And Indiana does come away with a win, a little bit more difficult than they expected. A difference of halves. That first half, we were like, okay. And quickly though, Don, I'll tell you before I came on, I'm not a big bettor, but I like to just play on the weekends. And I always bet parlays, 3-team parlays, little $50 ones. Wisconsin cost me a $2,500 payout this weekend. Wisconsin, because they were in both of my parlays, because they were playing the team that Indiana's opponent played last week. And I'm like, there's no way that that Idaho can be that good. This team Indiana put 56 on them last year. I'm like, you can't get that much better. Washington State can't be that good. They were a 17-point underdog to Wisconsin. They go to Wisconsin, beat Wisconsin, and Idaho showed the first half against Indiana. They made tough things life hell. And I think that they were just a little bit better than we gave them credit for. And I sure paid for it, literally.
Well, I understand. I understand your frustration with that. I don't bet, so I didn't lose any money. That's a good news for me. Not so much for you. I mean, betting is, everybody does it. I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people do it, and I have no problem with it. My biggest issue on Saturday was the fact that Indiana played so poorly and did not take advantage of opportunities in the first half that were literally put on a plate for them, served up on a plate, and they dumped the plate before they could ever get anything done with it. And it really bothered me dramatically. They could not take advantage of the field position that they were given on 3 different occasions in this football game. And they were down 10-0 at halftime because of it. Connor Bazelak was pathetic in the first half. I don't know how else to state it. I mean, he couldn't find a way to get the ball to anybody, not only on time, but he couldn't get it close to him in a lot of those cases. It was just a poor performance on his behalf, and he struggled immensely. Now, whether it was the wet ball and the conditions and all those kinds of things, Connor played 2 years in the SEC. He was the freshman of the year in the SEC as a quarterback. He's got the experience to deal with those kinds of things, and obviously he just wet the bed, so to speak. He just really struggled. But then, of course, in the second half, he got it going. Then he was tremendous, 10 of 12. But he also had some receivers that made, DJ especially, who made 2 terrific catches on their first drive of the second half that got their first touchdown. Those 2 catches that DJ Matthews had were spectacular. One was, diving out of bounds to make the catch. The other, a one-handed grab that he pulled in and set up the touchdown run by Donovan McCulley down to the 4-yard line. So maybe that had something to do with Connor saying, I got to do something myself besides everybody else getting the job done. Whatever the case, they found a way to turn it on in the second half. They scored 35 unanswered points. But gave up 2 touchdowns defensively late in the ball game that probably just destroyed Tom Allen's belief that this was a good win for Indiana, because he wasn't pleased when we got him on the postgame show. He was really upset with his football team. And it was, because of the struggles they had offensively with Connor, but at the same time, the defense giving up 2 scores late in the ball game when the game was really out of reach for Idaho. Well, that's when you've got to just put your foot on their neck and say no more. So they didn't get that done. So there were so many different things you could point to in this game that were negatives, but the most important thing was they won the football game and they're 2-0.
When I look at the disparity in the first half and the second half, I do think Idaho was better than probably we gave them credit for, but at the same time, I wonder if this team came out and just thought we were going to roll the helmets out and it was going to be the same result as last year, because it's tough to go from 0 points to 35 points and to see the difference in play. And I know you said they gave up those 2 touchdowns. Tom Allen obviously wasn't happy, but it looked like a completely different team in the second half. I mean, do you think that there was a little bit of, they read a little too much of the headlines? We won a Big Ten game last week. We're supposed to roll our helmets out and just take care of business like we did last year. And maybe that's why the team struggled in the first 30 minutes.
I'd like to think that might have been part of the problem. I don't know if it really was, because Tom Allen all week long, trust me, he had no voice left going into this ball game. We did our pregame show with him on Saturday morning or Saturday late in the day, obviously. But when they got to the stadium on Saturday, his voice was shot then. So this guy was talking all week long about, this is a different Idaho team you guys are going to be facing this week. You cannot take them lightly. And Washington State's a good football team, as they proved Saturday with the win over Wisconsin. So there's no question that Idaho was a better team than they were a year ago under a new head coach, a new system. They had a lot of transfer portal people that came in that helped them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. All the signs were there that this was not going to be the same Idaho team that Indiana played a year ago. And Allen preached it all week long. The coaches preached it all week long. I don't know how you could possibly be sitting there and going, we're going to roll over these guys just like we did a year ago. But sometimes that's the way players think, I guess. And it's unfortunate. Those of us who are older, who have been around the block a few times, realize you can't take anybody lightly anymore. There's simply nobody that can't beat you if you don't get out there and are ready to play. And unfortunately, if you're Ohio State, maybe that can happen. But at Indiana, it can't.
Well, ask Jimbo Fisher about that. Ask Notre Dame about that.
Ask Paul Chris.
Exactly. Sizable. Don't remind me of Paul Chris. He's not on my Christmas list right now.
I understand.
Man, it's been fun. Indiana off to a 2-0 start is the best part. Now they can put their focuses towards the next week and hopefully know that no matter who their opponent is, they better have their heads in their helmets. I guess not in other places, but it needs to be in their helmet thinking because, man, and it's not just Indiana. Like we said, we saw Florida State, how they have, we had the stuff at the beginning of the season between him and Nick Saban, but Florida State, I know, has a $25 million NIL
Texas A&M
bankroll, or Texas A&M rather, a $25 million NIL bankroll set up. So they're one of the biggest programs up there with Alabama, and they lose at home. That is not, but that shows you where we are with college football, and I love it in a degree. But Indiana can be one of those spoilers if they get their heads together. They've got another game to I guess you'd say to start to get things together before they head into the more difficult portion of the season, traveling to Cincinnati. But another game coming up this week where they need to continue to get. They're looking like a second half offensive team, and I don't think that's by design, Don.
No, it's not. And here's the thing: Western Kentucky is a really good football program. And they proved it a year ago. Indiana struggled mightily in that game in Bowling Green and won it 33-31. This team is probably as good, if not better, than it was a year ago because the transfer guys that they brought in last year that did not leave after last season are still there. That's helped them. They've got a couple of wide receivers that are spectacular. They've got a new quarterback who has looked just as good or better than the guy that they had a year ago, who was a terrific quarterback. This coach has done a tremendous job with this program. 9-4, I think 9-4 his first year, 5-7 in the COVID year, and then he came back with a 9-5 season last year. They had the most dynamic offense in the country a year ago, and it looks like they're back to playing that kind of offense again. This is going to be a challenge for Indiana football this week. Anybody that doesn't believe that has no clue about what college football is all about right now.
One thing I do want to mention real quick, Dustin, Sean Shivers, big change for Indiana there. The running game was non-existent in week one and in the first half, really. But 183 yards on, I don't know, is that for the season or is that for this past game?
He had 155 for the game.
So look, he's got 183 for the season and 155 came in the last game. That tells you the difference right there. But 155 yards rushing, that has to make Indiana fans feel a little bit better.
Well, there's no question that there were some holes to run through this week. There weren't any in week one, without question. And that means the offensive line made some changes. They're playing a lesser team as well, as we know, from a defensive perspective. I still think Idaho's defense was their strength. They were a good defensive football team. And Indiana was able to run the football against them. Shivers obviously got loose for 2 or 3 big runs in the ball game. He's a talented back if he gets the opportunity to show that. And that's going to be critical in this matchup with Western Kentucky. I don't know a lot about their defense because they gave up a lot of points to Austin Peay, but then they shut down a very good a Hawaii team that's expected to be pretty decent in that regard in game 2. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. But my gut feeling is that if Indiana goes into it ready to play and not taking anybody lightly or those kinds of things, they will win this football game. But it's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be an easy win. Indiana's going to the defense is going to have to play much better than they have in the first two games with all the missed tackles that they've had. And you can't give up late scores to a football team like Western Kentucky. You're going to get beat.
And I think one of the things from last year, the difference that stood out to me, even though this game was ugly, 6.6 yards per carry. Last year in this game, Indiana, even though they throttled Idaho last year, I think it was like 2.4, 2.5. So, again, you're not playing the cream of the crop, but the fact that you showed some significant progress, you're averaging 6.6 yards on the ground against a team that should probably be the number, I think gives Indiana fans a little bit more hope as opposed to last year when you're saying, if we can't run against an FCS team, who are we going to be able to run against? I think that this provides a little glimmer of hope for the offense moving forward.
I agree with that. I really do. I think this Indiana football team has the capability to be a pretty good football team. Whether it's going to be a great team or not, we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't appear that that's going to be the case, but you never know, because confidence is something that just builds if you keep winning. So being 3-0 going into that Cincinnati ball game, and then maybe somehow pulling out a victory on the road for the first time this season, that confidence level will be sky high going into Nebraska the next week. So things can really start to blossom here if this football team keeps their head about them and plays the kind of football we think that they're capable of playing. But that's a lot to be said for a program that has struggled to do that through the years.
And talking about, I don't want to get, this is going to sound crazy, but I expect them to be 3-0 when they go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a game that I think that they can win. That doesn't mean they do, but just for fun, and say they did. Can you imagine Indiana going to Nebraska, even though Scott Frost is no longer there, looking at the potential of being 5-0 with a team that Nebraska is kind of reeling right now. And we're talking about an IU football team that we were like wondering, are they going to win 2 games? Now we're looking at the potential, which I don't want to put the horse or the cart before the horse, but potential being able to go 5-0 to start the season, which would be nuts for this team. But it shows you how crazy this college football season already is.
So you really are putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, kind of what, you might as well have some fun.
No, I mean, there's potential. There's no question about that. But as Tom Allen would say, one game at a time. We got one game at a time, boys and girls. And what's the most important game of the season? The next one.
One. But if you'd have bet me, sorry, and I'll make you a bet now that Indiana starts 5-0. I don't care what you would have offered. There's no way I would have taken that bet, as dumb as I am, obviously losing on Wisconsin. I wouldn't have taken that bet, and that's a real possibility. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's a real possibility now because of this, partly because this college football season, I think, is going to be fun and crazy.
Let's beat Western Kentucky.
Yeah. See, that's the voice of reason, the wise voice of reason. Don, we got to let Don go. Make sure you want to see him and Coach Allen. Come out to Southern Stone Restaurant in Bloomington, located on Patterson and Rogers. Each Wednesday night begins at 7, I believe, Don?
7:05. 7:05 is the airtime for the show, and we look forward to it on Wednesday night this week.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Good seeing you all, and we'll see you all next week.
Cannot wait. The great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Make sure you stop by and see them at Southern Stone Restaurant each Wednesday night for 7:05 for the broadcast of the Indiana Football Coaches Show with Tom Allen, as that comes to you then. Up next, the great wise sage Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times as we continue the talk of this crazy, wild, and wacky college football season. Back with more, brought to you by Southern Stone right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out.
Good morning, Dustin.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Dustin. How are you guys?
How are you, sir? How are you, sir?
I'm not bad. I was very entertained by that last segment. Your card is so far out in front of the horse, Jim.
Come on. We don't have to focus on one game at a time. We don't have to focus on it.
You know what?
The horse is just chilling in the barn like it hasn't even been told he's got to leave yet. And there's already a court. It's already packed.
The cart is rolling down the hill.
The cart is rolling down the hill. It's packed. It's got
untethered.
Everything.
And it's untethered.
I didn't know I was even supposed to do anything today.
It is untethered and going crazy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That cart is rolling, man.
I'm genuinely disappointed that Scott Frost won't be fired after the Indiana game now. Because that was almost
that takes so much out of that
game.
Dude,
you have no idea how much I wanted that to happen. I
think he honestly was like, it's like, you guys think you can hold on to me for another 3 weeks and not have to pay me this whole buyout.
I can't believe they didn't do that, though. We're talking $7.5 million for a couple more weeks. Your season's shot.
By Georgia Southern, man. They can't. They couldn't even.
I'm telling you. A booster came in and said, "We're done here. I will give you the 7.5. We're done."
Yeah.
They already had the contingency in place. They said,
"Let's yet again say what imagine being the guy that could just say, I'll give you $7.5 million for 19 days."
I mean, that happened with exactly. The other thing,
even being in that realm, that's like 6 lifetimes for me.
I wish I could do that with $10.
Exactly. Like that's incredible. Like, imagine being able to find that in your couch cushions and say, like, yeah, go. Like, I'll pay you $7.5 million for 19 days.
I wonder. Here's the other thought would be like Trev Alberts having a close enough ties with Scott Frost to be like, you're done here, whether it's now or in 3 weeks. Do you want to still coach or no? I mean, but
right.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure he was like, no, I don't want to coach for 3 weeks.
Give me my. That's why
I'm not
earlier
$7.5 million.
Exactly. That's why I told the Ed. Did you see the Ed Orgeron story that was on
20 seconds?
I just saw I saw it very briefly. I didn't see the full thing, but I just saw like the tease when he was like, "We're going to give you $17 million." He's like, "How fast do you want me to pack up?"
Yep. Which door?
All right, here we go.
MoreHonda.com. Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and no one is offering me $7 million to leave. I wish that they would. I would go. I promise you. Sports has got to be. Sports is the greatest thing in the world. It is the only place where you suck and get paid millions of dollars to leave, to go away. How many?
It's not. Actually, it's not the only place. There are other like titans of industry that get that too, but we don't
this
even know
big though. Are they this big? I mean,
I guess
they have
I don't
this.
Know. That's a universe I don't even understand. I'm
yeah,
sure
me either.
There's a CEO of the hedge fund somewhere that once has been paid $8 million to go away.
I mean,
I don't know which one. I don't know why. I don't know what he did. But I am sure that has happened.
And the funny thing is, I look at like two minds that come to name. Really, Scott Frost obviously comes to mind. Archie Miller comes to mind, and I think of both of their personalities very similar.
Yep.
So you can be a jerk. You can be a jerk, not successful, lose, and get paid millions and millions of dollars. Man.
Mm-hmm. You just got to get far enough along. I mean, it's a tough road to get to that point. To get to that point that Indiana or Nebraska will hire you. It does take a lot of sacrifice.
The funny thing is, though, and I agree with that, but the funny thing is usually you got to get someplace and prove it. They're proving it at the lower level.
Yeah.
And then people are just taking Scott Frost did it at Central Florida. Mm-hmm. Archie did it where everybody has done it at Dayton. Well, no one offered Don Donaher that kind of money to coach after being great at Dayton back in the day. But Anyway.
That's how it works.
Yes, I'm just jealous because people are being paid millions of dollars to suck at their jobs. I suck at my job for free, nearly. I mean, damn. Jeez. How was your weekend, Dustin?
It was good. I mean, it was mostly based on driving back and forth to Bloomington and watching that game.
Late
But
night.
yeah, it was good. Yeah. So let's just launch in. Go right back where we were. Like y'all are talking 5-0 on here, Jim.
Oh, Cincinnati. I didn't get to see them play this week. Who did they play?
They played Kennesaw State. So, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I saw them play last week, and they're a scary. They shot themselves in the foot so much. They have the talent. They're one of those teams that can score. They're a second half team like they were last year. And so no, do I expect Indiana to go into Cincinnati win? No, I'm not saying that I expect it. Can it? Yeah, from what I've seen, when I see App State go to frickin' Texas A&M or Marshall go to Notre Dame, and it can happen. Can Bazelite get it together sooner than the last, 10 minutes of the half? And not just him, the entire offense. And that's not Bazelak, it's
Bazelak.
Yeah. Just one boom, boom, Bazelak.
And it's Baze like Blaze.
Yeah. He's been such a Jekyll and Hyde first half and second half guy, but it's not just him.
Well, it's less first half and second half as it is just he can get on streaks. I mean, it's odd that we talk about that first game like he was first half and second half. He was last 3 minutes, but they had they were punt, interception, whatever else. Not even interception. I mean, they were punting a lot in that second half, and then it was the last 2 minutes that he got it together. But I mean, he had some decent drives in the first half. He just gets streaky, and a not small piece of it a huge piece of it on Saturday night was the weather was terrible. The weather was trash, and he did not handle it particularly well. So that's its own issue. It's say, okay, did they do enough with the wet ball? Is he got an issue with the wet ball? But I mean, Jim, we were in that press box looking outside and thinking, thank God I'm not there. So, we can only, Tebow says IU outgained IU 239-10, I think, in the third quarter. But he got out second half when it was clean, when it was not raining anymore, and he was on. And it was just like, and it's like that. A weight got lifted, basically. It was like they were playing on a totally different planet at that point. So it was a lot easier to get some kind of traction, to get some kind of, consistency and rhythm, because they weren't getting dumped on, like they were in the first half. It was just a mess, and they just couldn't, he just did not seem to have a good grip on the ball, missed open receivers, just didn't have a rhythm. So there's a couple things to that, and so that's a thing. So, I mean, I don't want to act like, okay, but it's not an inexplicable thing. It's a very tangible, thing to circle and say, okay, you might have an issue in bad weather with this guy. But,
also they don't want to show a whole lot.
But I mean, he was just, they came out in the second half, and once all that was gone, and they were again on kind of a clean track, when they could just outrun people, and it was over. Basically, like once they really got back in a position where they could take advantage of all their advantages, the fact that they were bigger, stronger, faster, it was over. And it was just before then, it was just, running in the muck, and, they just didn't have much answers for that. Once they were out of the muck, they were good.
Yeah. And one of the things, Dustin, that I take away from it, and I think it was an ugly first half. There's no doubt about it. They got things together in the second half, but I think the one positive, even though first of all, you get the win. That's number one. That's the most important thing from the weekend. But I think the second thing is last year, this Indiana team could not run against Idaho. They averaged under 3 yards per carry, and it looked really ugly. This week, they were at least able to run the football. Sean Shivers looked pretty good. He had 155 yards. They scored 3 rushing touchdowns, and they averaged 6.6 yards per carry. So even though I don't think the run game is going to be a strength, I think there's a little bit more reason for optimism in the run game for Indiana this year, as opposed to last year when you're going, if they can't run the football in Idaho, who are they going to be able to run the football against?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, that Idaho game was so weird, and look like you kind of have to look back and remember it, because they have a punt. They had a punt blocked.
Yep.
They had either a defensive touchdown or they really overwhelmed them on special teams. I think Carr went for $120 that game, and yeah, the yards per carry wasn't great, but part of the whole deal was, they just got out to such a fast lead, because of special teams things. And I think we came out of that thinking we didn't really get a chance to judge this team. And I think such a big deal after week 1, because Penix throws the picks was okay. Well, they got to get Michael Penix right. That's the most important thing that has to happen is he's got to get some confidence. And he only got so much. I don't think he barely even threw the ball, but they were just so far out ahead because of other stuff that it was they weren't chancing anything. So I still using that game as a barometer a year later is tough to do. But to your point, regardless of that game, the yards per carry is a big deal. I think it's really important, especially after game 1 where there was basically nothing. So, it obviously leads at least some level of credence to Walt Bell's argument after week 1, which was, hey, we knew going in that we weren't going to be able to run the ball. That was a hard no. It's Walt Bell's a guy who's really into military history, and it was to talk along those lines. It's sort of like saying this regiment is going to take losses this. Right. It's just we're kind of sacrificing this one for the betterment of someone else. We have a chance to win over here. We're probably going to lose over here. You guys are going to have a bad day. And that's sort of what I think the running game, how they viewed the running game is just okay, you guys are going to have a bad day here, and you're going to have to just live with it. Don't get frustrated or not just frustrated, but discouraged because we're not running the ball. We're not going to. And Walt Bell said, we just poked the bear to say we could do it. He's I've never run passed the ball that much in my life. It was 2-1. I think it was 52 passes to 26 runs. And Walt Bell was just you have to run the ball every once in a while. That's what we did. I didn't expect to win that day. So this adds some level of credence to that to say, okay, give me a regular 4-man front and we'll beat it. We were dealing with 5-man bear fronts, and it was I just had to run the ball a little bit so I could take advantage and keep them honest and keep 5 or 6 in the box so I could then go, fling it on them on the outside. That was my goal, and that's what I did, and that's, why. So this adds some credence to that, and if you're Indiana's offensive line, you feel better about yourself today, and that matters. That's a big deal. That group, especially having lost Matthew Bedford, you throw Parker Hannah in there as a D2 transfer. You needed something to get those guys feeling okay, we're a legitimate, FBS, Power 5 offensive line. We're going to be okay. I don't know if they will. I don't know if once they get back to playing, Idaho didn't start anybody that weighs more than 260. So,
right.
On the defensive front. They pushed around a smaller unit, and you'll take that because you just needed something. Does that prove anything for you? No. But it's something, and you need, I think, when an offensive line has a rough day, you need to get them back to the feeling of mauling somebody again, and they got to do that, especially in the second half, and that is important.
That was my point. Is it's better. Even though maybe you don't learn anything because you're going to play a lot of better defensive lines and defensive teams, the fact that you were able to get some push up front, because my mind is again State last year when you got push against zero teams. You at least showed that you can push some people around. And I do think that the confidence factor is a big deal moving forward for a team that has honestly struggled to run the football for most of Tom Allen's tenure at IU.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just got to prove that you can move people. It just makes a difference. And basically if you're an offensive lineman in general, what you do every day is you try to push a boulder.
Right, exactly.
That's your job. You are dealing with a boulder on the other side of you, and your job is to move that boulder. And basically, when you go out every day and the boulder doesn't move, you think the boulder never will move, and that gets frustrating. That gets in your head, and that makes it hard to get any kind of just momentum and your general push forward. And when you get the feeling of moving that boulder, even though it's a smaller boulder, it's something. So I think that's a big thing for IU's offensive line, was just getting that feeling and just getting that level of belief that. They could do that to anybody, that there were human beings that they could move. And so that's it. It is a really huge deal, I think. And, Again, does that mean they'll be able to do the same thing to Western Kentucky? I don't know. Western Kentucky's, defensively, that's not the issue with Western Kentucky. What you're concerned about with Western Kentucky is tempo and them flinging it on you. But it's, it's something that gives you a good step moving forward. Does that show up when you start playing Cincinnati, Nebraska, and especially Michigan? No. But it's something to start with, and you needed anything along those lines. So that's one of, I think, the big things that you could circle. Okay, this is something that moving forward matters.
We got to take a quick break to get caught up. When we come back, we'll talk about Cam Camper and, the throwing game. You've got 3 receivers already with catches of 40 yards or greater. So that is something positive to look at. We'll talk about that and much more. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times is with us. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter if you're not already, and be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive, baby. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. They have been serving Southern Indiana for over 3 decades. If you want the home, whether it's in Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison counties down there in that area, reach out to Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Barbara at barbarapop.com, or Joe Lincoln not Joe. That's his son. Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
Hey, he waited till the break.
She did. I don't know what she's mad about, but I'll go find out.
That's hilarious.
All right, I'm gonna mute myself real quick here. Is it okay if I go at 9:50?
Yes,
it's fine. Let me out then, because I just got to hit the road to get down.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
All right.
And then Jim, so we won't break at 9:50. He can just head out at 9:50. You'll break at 10. You'll have another open segment with Dustin, and then Dustin will leave. Dustin,
okay, hold on. Let me. I've got all.
You're good.
All right. So Dopirak has to be out at 9:50.
Yes.
So he's out. Dopirak out 9:50. Then what?
Then break at 10.
Break 10. All right.
And then you'll be open with Schutte until 10:20, and then you'll break again. Dustin Schutte has to leave. And then Jim Reamer will finish out the show with you.
Well, that works out perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba Wallace got him a big win yesterday.
Oh, don't forget, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but Notre Dame losing to Marshall.
I didn't talk about that already.
Did we? I didn't think so.
I don't think we mentioned it, but I don't think we talked about it.
We just mentioned it. There's just been too much. We are Marshall, baby.
Big time.
Hey, now hasn't Penn State stolen that?
What?
Oh, the we are.
Yeah, that's Mr. Penn State. We have Mr. Penn State.
For the record.
You've what?
There's no theft.
It's not like, first off, it's not like it's that creative a phrasing that you need like a trademark.
Yeah, but see, here's my only issue with it is Marshall had the big death thing, so
all right.
You can't.
I will just say this: I went to Penn State from 2004. We were doing that long before then, and that movie didn't come out for another 5-10 years. So I know the plane thing happened, but I knew about Randy Moss before I knew about the Marshall plane crash. I don't know about you.
I got it.
So
now the other one I have a problem with is there cannot be 2 Death Valleys. Whoever started calling it Death Valley first gets to be Death Valley. I mean, you can't copy off of that.
How many Memorial Stadiums are there?
10 seconds.
That's the name of the stadium. That's an official name of the stadium.
All right, here we go.
Sizemore gets you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Monday after a great weekend of sports here on September 12th. Man, we're already deep into September. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times with us as he's joining myself and Dustin Schutte from outsider.com. A fun weekend. Late nights, man. We were talking to Don about I am so done with these 8 o'clock games, man. They suck.
Yeah. I got to drive up to Indy after that. It's not fun. Old man talking.
Yeah. Old man, old man. We got some old men complaining. I'm telling you, I'm right
old
there.
Man, some big time old man complaints, man. I hit 40 and I'm just,
get off my lawn. It's too late, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. No fun there.
No.
Where did we leave off? What were we going to talk about?
Receiving pass game.
Name, I think whether or not Penn State's stealing, we are
well, there's the We Are Marshall thing. We Are Marshall did. How about that? I mean, how about Marshall beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame, App State going to College Station and beating Texas A&M. Wasn't there one other gigantic? Well, yeah, Nebraska losing to Georgia
Southern, which sadly is not that big.
Which took away, boy, oh boy, did that take away a lot of people's hopes that he was going to be there when Indiana arrived. Because man, oh man, I'm shocked, but I'm also shocked they lost I thought that the game might be close, but they would pull out another win. I didn't expect them to lose that game. I don't know how in the world they lose that game, but
I didn't either. But I mean, like I said, Sunbelt was bringing it this weekend, man, for real. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was just gonna say, you thought the game was going to be close and Nebraska was going to win. In what universe has Nebraska won a close game in the last 3 years?
Man.
Well, I know, but it's at home. It was against Georgia Southern. I knew that it was. I thought the football gods, might just let Indiana come to Lincoln and just put that final wooden stake in Scott Frost's heart, and that's okay.
And Indiana was robbed of that. I mean, if you're Indiana, you have a harder time winning this game now against an interim coach. I think you do.
I guarantee you it's going to be harder to win because now Nebraska is going to be fired up. And but I'm shocked that Nebraska wasted $7.5 million just for 3 weeks.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
That's
we talk about this on the first whatever. Like I imagine having. I mean, like even if this is a donor, like that, like they did with Archie Miller. Imagine having somebody who go to and say, "We need $7.5 million more dollars to do this today
for nothing
versus 3 weeks from now."
Like, yes, which
can you find $7 million to spare us 3 weeks of embarrassment? Because it's worth it. And like, imagine being able to say that out loud. Imagine that.
How bad are you if you're Scott Frost?
Yeah,
this is way worse than Archie Miller. He's a son of Nebraska. He's someone that they looked up to, that they really hoped was going to happen, who had some serious success at Central Florida before coming to Nebraska.
This is the sort of one where when it doesn't work out, what's the answer? Because like Scott Frost, it's sort of like Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. And Harbaugh has sort of pulled the plane up right before it was about to crash. And that was like a big, like if Michigan, if Harbaugh would have failed at Michigan, you were like, well, what do you do? Like what do you do if you're Michigan? Like that was the answer that was always sitting there, when it's always the guy that you're like, oh man, if we could get him, like he's an alum, he's everything we've ever wanted in life. And when you bring that guy in and it doesn't work, what's your next answer? That's Scott Frost in Nebraska, kind of. Like, I mean, he's an alum. He was, won overwhelmingly at Central Florida, and, they like him, sharp guy, had some NFL experience. And you're like, okay, like that's the dude, like that is who we're waiting for to fix and turn this thing around. And when it does happen, you're like, what do you do now? And I mean, the names that are out there, like, I can't imagine these guys going for it. I mean, like, why would Matt Campbell take this job? Why?
First of all,
the only reason I can say is Big Ten money. That's the only thing I got.
Well, he would, and the Big 12 is. I mean, Big 12 is kind of dying. I mean, there's still going to be a major conference, but they're losing their two biggest.
But if you're Matt Campbell, you don't think you're stuck there. You don't have reason to think you're stuck there. You people have been interested in you for a while.
Can I just say that
you don't need a dead end job.
And I don't know. To me, here's the thing. I think it's also a gamble if you go Matt Campbell, because it's been impressive what he's done for Iowa State in the fact that Iowa State,
Nebraska. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, I mean,
go to Nebraska and fail. Sure.
It's a gamble because I don't know how much we know about him. That sounds crazy. Like, there's no question he's done a great job at Iowa State, but he's also, when his teams have been really good and predicted to win the Big 12, he's come up way short. So I think it's kind of like Pat Fitzgerald, right? Like, I think Pat Fitzgerald, I don't know if Nick Saban could do at Northwestern what Pat Fitzgerald has done. I also don't think Pat Fitzgerald at Alabama would be hanging any national championship. So it's like, to me, it's fit. I think Matt Campbell is the perfect fit at Iowa State. So I agree with you. I just, if I'm Nebraska, I don't even think that crosses my mind.
I think there's other places he could win. But like, I mean, I just think there's some places that you just don't go right now. And I think like, and maybe it's just because we haven't seen it, it work, but like more than any other sort of fallen power, the game on the X's and O's have passed Nebraska by. Yeah. Like it just how they were winning, what they recruited to that. They had a whole system that is based on a style of play that is gone. Like any of the Michigans, the Texases, Miami, Florida State, as far as football is concerned, like you look at a lot of these programs that have come down a notch. It isn't like they won with this completely antiquated style of play. Like yes, in some way the game was shifted more towards them then than it is now, but it wasn't so like their style of play wasn't so of that era that it doesn't translate. Nebraska's way of playing was of that period of time, and that period of time is gone. Like nobody plays the way Nebraska used to win. I mean, like triple option I-backs, stuff like that's not even, I mean, like the only people that do that anymore are service academies. And so it's like, all right, like how do you bring that into the Power 5 area? And no one's had an answer yet, in that time. And it's just like, I mean, you're in Nebraska, you're in the middle of Nebraska. Like it is just, like it's not Michigan, you're not right there next to Detroit. You're not in Florida when you've got this obscene amount of talent. Nebraska, to get to this universe has to be able to recruit someplace that, like they can't recruit the state anymore and expect that to get them anywhere. They have to get players from out of state. And that's really, really difficult to, sustain. I mean, if you're going to just enter the spread offense era, nobody's been able to do it there. So, like what do you, I don't know how they get it right. Like, I don't know that there's an answer for them. Whereas like, I think, again, Michigan just has to, like, they're not necessarily going to be as good as they were for the consistent amount of time, but they can have a get pieces together and have a year like last year. Like Texas can do it. There's nothing preventing Texas from having great seasons from time to time. I don't know if they're going to be what they believe they are and deserve to be, but they can get back for a year, for 2 years, for a stretch. Like even if it's not consistent. Nebraska, I don't know how they get back to it at all.
I'll tell you exactly how they do it. Dustin, instead of spending a $7.5 million on getting rid of a coach, spend $7.5 million on NIL money. And
NIL is
how many players though could they have gotten for that? Great players. They don't bat an eye to drop $7.5 million to get rid of a guy.
But your belief is that the next guy is going to. I mean, like the coach still has to get him in the door. Like whatever you want to do on NIL, like
I get it. You're going to have to go out. They don't trust your coach. They don't like Nebraska type coach. They're going to just quit guessing and go get the guy.
NIL is not a problem for Nebraska. Casey Thompson said we can get six. You can get six figures if you're a starting football player at Nebraska. So
is there anybody on that team getting that kind of NIL money? I don't think so. They don't have that kind of talent, do they? I'm guessing Casey Thompson has something similar. He wouldn't just drop that number from a.
If Casey Thompson said you can get six figures, then Casey Thompson's getting six figures.
Exactly.
But you need more than one person is my point. You need a quarterback, you need a receiver, you need a running back. They have the money to do it, but they're and they haven't done it quite yet. They haven't gotten those players. We're not hearing of these big time recruits being landed at Nebraska, but they're paying this big time money to get rid of a coach.
But I mean, there's again, like I'm sure you could get collective money in there. Like there's something to be done, but like there are, like you're not going to have a John Ruiz, like that's obscenely rich in the middle of like, I mean, you never know, like there's just so much money being thrown around and who's doing it and whatever. Like, but like, do I think Nebraska could get some next level NIL powerhouse that is beating everybody else? That's doing more than what everybody else already is. I don't, I mean, like, I'm sure Nebraska can get a lot of, I'm sure Nebraska can compete. Nebraska can be in the same place as everybody else. I don't see Nebraska having an edge. Like, because I mean, I think it's an arms race that everybody is investing in as they should be and stuff. But, you got to
get out.
It's going to even out for a lot of the powerful conferences. Like when everybody's sort of further along here or has this donor or has that donor or whatever, eventually most of the big Power Fives that people really care about are going to be more or less on a level.
Right.
Water is going to maintain a level there. It's okay. This is ultimately how much you can afford to pay a quarterback and how much you afford to pay a wide receiver and whatnot. But like Nebraska's not going to be able to say, all right, well, we're terrible. Like, let's put all our money into NIL and we'll be able to out NIL everybody else. Like, you're not out NILing everybody else. You can get there. You can get on a plane with them, but you're not going to be beyond everybody.
Well, brother, speaking of planes,
I got to go down to Bloomington.
You got to get on one down to Bloomington for today.
I'll see you down there,
Tom
Jim.
Allen. See you soon, brother. Dustin Dopirak joining us from the Bloomington Herald Times. Appreciate him. I don't. It doesn't make sense. I'll tell you. It's Scott Frost. It's Archie Miller. It's not when things aren't going well. Mm-hmm. When you have a bad personality on top of it. It makes it go fast. No, I'm serious. I'm not being.
No. I know it.
It just makes it go faster.
Yes.
Can't get you away quicker. They wanted Scott Frost gone. They paid Archie Miller $10 million to get the hell out of town. They paid Scott Frost an extra $7.5 million to get him out 3 weeks sooner.
Right.
I mean, yikes.
I think there was I don't know.
I make a lot of people mad, but ain't nobody paying me to leave. Damn.
I think what's interesting about the whole Nebraska situation is there was such a divide among fans about whether they liked or disliked Scott Frost. And it was, part of it was because of his personality, because of the way he interacted with the media, the way he conducted press conferences. Some people loved that he was just kind of tight-lipped and didn't say a whole heck of a lot. There were other people that didn't like that. They want more access inside the program. They want to know what practices are looking like. So it was always a very interesting sort of divide among the fan base, whether they liked his approach or not. But I mean, the bottom line is it wasn't working. That was pretty evident for several seasons. So, I mean, this was inevitable. What I kind of wonder is, did Trev Alberts make this decision after, did he know after the Northwestern game?
No, I think that he thought that if they could tread water. Oh, you mean if they lost this game? You have to have to be able to make that call. You had to have the money set up.
But correct. But what I'm saying is, it looked the way Nebraska lost that Northwestern game. To me, I was like that. I don't know that this team's they might go 3-9 again, and now they might go 2-10. Because it looked the same. It looked the exact same in that opener. You thought that because they had so many new pieces, they had so much incoming talent. One of the things that I almost wondered too is we talked a lot about the NIL, and there were some, it seemed like, and I don't want to speak because I don't know this as fact, it seemed like Nebraska got a lot of players because of some of the NIL deals. I don't know that for a fact. That's just what it seemed like from the transfer portal. And you look at Texas A&M, what happened there. Do these kids get that big payday, and then all of a sudden it's not okay? We lost a game. Is there a? I don't want to say. I don't think they're not trying, but I mean, do you carry it as much? Do you have as much of an edge with you when you know you have that money? It's just an interesting conversation to have. I think some coaches are really good about, yeah, you can go get your money but you need to stay focused on football and winning this game. And I think there's others that maybe don't handle it quite as well. So it's an interesting time for college football. It just looks so similar. To me, like I said, I think Trev Alberts knew after the Northwestern game that unless something major happened, this was going to be the same story this season. And that's why it was done in week 3 or week 2, their third game, instead of.
Well, let me ask you this now. How much pressure is going to be on Indiana to now go to Nebraska and win? That pressure was not there when they went there in 2019. It was, I still think they wanted needed. Now I think there is going to be pressure for Indiana to go win there.
I don't know about that. I think that 2019 game, I think Tom Allen put the pressure on his players to go win because of what happened.
They did. They had to. They needed to.
Right. So I don't know that the pressure is going to be any different, but the thing that I'm going to be interested in is how loose is Nebraska going to play the rest of the season? Because at this point, the players obviously are trying to get to a bowl game. They're trying to be competitive, but now you just play free. There's nothing. Really, there's nothing to lose. So just go out, like Jim Harbaugh says, just go out and let it rip. So I think the game is a little bit more nerve-wracking for Indiana now. I don't know if it's more pressure, but I think it's a little more nerve-wracking.
You've got Oklahoma up next. It would have been better for Indiana if Oklahoma was on the backside of the Indiana game.
Right.
But they could get the dog snot knocked out of them. I don't know how good is Oklahoma this year.
They're pretty. I don't know that we know, to be honest. They haven't. I don't know that they've played anybody. They're 2-0. They look okay, but I don't think because of their competition, I don't think we know a whole lot about Oklahoma. I think we'll find out this week.
Let's see. Yeah, that's a little surprising. But we got to take a quick break, according to the boss. We got lots more coming up here on the program today. Looking forward to it. There's lots to get to, man. NFL over the weekend. College football was a blast over the weekend. Lots more coming up. And the Colts kissed their sister. Holy man, that game drives you nuts. We'll be back with it right after this. Brought to you by our good friends from Metalworks Brewing, all part of the Wow Club, Metalworks Brewing Company. The combination of passion for beer, food, and the combination of art alongside a desire to be actively involved in the Bloomington community. Recently launched this past season, taking place of another staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewery right off the square on 6th Street. Make sure you stop by. Served at all the Wow Club restaurants. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
Tim, so you understand, I did not lose $2,500. I lost a $2,500 payday. I would never bet $2,500 unless I was a multi-millionaire. And I am not. Hey, what's the rest of the schedule?
For today?
Yeah, what time is it? God dang, it's already 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So we go till when?
10:40. You'll have this segment with Dustin and Jim Reamer at 10:20.
I'll say I go to 10:20.
Mm-hmm.
Is Reamer okay? We have to. May have got to make an adjustment there, probably.
That's fine. Just let me know what you want to do in the future.
Especially, there's nothing even. Yo. What the hell?
If you well, I guess you don't have to replace them, but I was gonna say, like during the basketball, high school basketball, or whatever you call it, and more like AAU high school off season, I can either replace them with somebody else or just have that segment open.
Uh-oh. Rivals down.
Minute. Okay. All right, 30 seconds.
Book your golf outing at the Golf Club at Eagle Point, complete with a menu of food and beverages from Psalms on the Point. Psalms on the Point offers a variety of food and beverage packages for on and off-site catering for the greater Bloomington area. To book your next tee time or reserve your next dining or catering experience, call 812-824-4040 or visit eaglepoint.com. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington, an exceptional golf and dining experience.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point. High atop the 18th fairway. Hey, this Thursday, their Memorial Golf outings taking place. Just go to the Golf Club at EaglePoint.com website if you're looking for a great cause and an event. I'm looking forward to it, participating, of course, but got some new irons, new to me, Dustin. Well, I think I've talked about this. They're not new. They're just new to me.
Right.
TaylorMade Sims. Already had an elite, was it daggone it, Max Callaway. Max Epic driver. And on eBay, I found the 3-wood, the 2, and the 4 hybrid for a total of $140.
That's a great deal.
That's an incredible deal. You can hardly get one of those clubs for that.
I'm not saying that I would completely change my game.
Now my game is completely ready minus the game.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I don't know if my game would change all that much.
Yes, it would.
It would. But I desperately need new clubs because mine are old. And I don't know about custom fitting.
Yes.
But
it matters all the difference in the world. Not that these are, but
I need something.
I'll tell you the difference that it makes. You can't be slicing into the woods and think a club is going to fix that. Now,
no, right, exactly.
But there, I'll tell you this: I can see a distance change. My irons, I've gone from steel to graphite.
Well,
and they're just better, newer technology. They're just newer.
They're better. They're newer. Usually got a bigger sweet spot. But the biggest difference is if you're swinging a club that's too big or too small, it changes your entire swing. And you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So that's why I say, I don't know that it would save like 18 strokes, but if I could shave off 5 or 6 by getting new clubs, that in itself is a big deal. I definitely need new clubs. So it might be a Christmas gift to myself this year.
How about Dasan McCullough? In the game for Indiana, actually this season already, the freshman, man, he has been a difference maker. It's hard to see a freshman it's go out and play at this level.
Yep.
He's doing it, man.
Yeah, he is. And let me tell you, I don't know what the conversation was like if he ever had any interest in going to Notre Dame, but staying at Indiana, he's 2-0 as opposed to 0-2. I mean,
I was thinking that you know what? When Notre Dame lost at home to was it Marshall they lost at home to?
Yep.
Yes.
Lost to
I was like, you know what? Now I see why maybe did his dad say they're not that good. Stay down at Bloomington. Not sure, but he is. I was thinking the same thing. Hey, he's 2-0 versus being 0-2.
But why? But then why would he have? If he knew they weren't very good, why would he have left? I mean, I guess the paycheck maybe.
Who? Oh, that's different. You don't know that until you get there.
Well, that's a good. Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, wow. You talk about, and it's hard where he's making differences for this Indiana defense. He's a freshman, man.
Right.
You offensively, generally, if a guy makes a difference as a freshman, it's going to be on offense, just because he's got talent, that is speed, that is something along those lines. Defensively, it takes a number of attributes to make you better, in my opinion. And to do it on the defensive side, oh boy, man, he's a hell of an athlete. But
he is. I mean, 2 sacks against Idaho.
Yeah, I mean, he's something. And if they can keep him there, he's going to be maybe the best defensive player. If he were to stay at Indiana, he could become the potential best defensive player to ever play at the school.
He could. And I think the thing that you like to see out of him is his toughness. I mean, he fits right in. I'm not going to put him quite on Micah McFadden's level just yet, but I think he fits in really well where Micah McFadden leaves. And the other thing is, Tywan Mullen after this season, assumably probably going to head to the NFL draft. I think Dason McCullough can be one of those players who is a vocal leader.
He's going to the NFL. I can promise you that.
Right. And Cam Jones, another guy who, so I think he fits that mold of being a great player and going to be a great leader. And that's what you need, those kind of players on every team, but especially at Indiana. So good to see him kind of deliver on, all the expectations, that the high recruiting rankings and all that. He's a really one of the best pickups that I think Tom Allen has had on the recruiting trail. I mean, he's had some good ones. Tywan Mullen's won. He's had some big wins, but I think Dason McCullough already through 2 games is proving to be one of the better signings that Tom Allen has had.
You've got Tywan, as you mentioned. You've got Aaron Casey, Dason McCullough, Aaron Casey, the George Taliaferro winner. They've got Indiana is going to have a good defense. I think their defense is just going to get steadily better and better. Mm-hmm. That is a great sign for Indiana because they have talent on this defense. And I think it's going to be a difference maker for them this season, maybe more so than we anticipated, if they can just get a semblance of an offense that has more consistency than what we've seen so far. And man, I don't know what it is with Bazelak, but man, he'll look so. I've never seen somebody look so great on a series, and he's still sailing balls.
Yeah,
which I don't get, because this is not his freshman year, and so being on a new team has nothing to do with that. So he's just sailing balls a little bit too much right now, and that I don't get. But he's got the one thing he has. He doesn't get nervous.
And to that point, when he throws a bad pass or has a bad series or a bad drive or a bad quarter, he does not let that affect him. I mean, he has a very short memory, which is key to being a good quarterback. I don't think, at least last year, I'm not sure you could say that about Michael Penix. I mean, when he's really good, he's really good. When he was really bad, he was really bad. And I think there were a lot of other factors involved in that. But you look at Connor Bazelak, and he doesn't care. He could be 0 for 24, and I think he would walk out on the field believing he's going to complete the next 6 passes, get into the end zone, and lead Indiana to a game-winning drive. I mean, that's the kind of confidence you have to have. And I do still think we put some of this on Connor Bazelak, which he would take full responsibility for. I do still think that this offense is inconsistent. I still think the offensive line plays inconsistent. The wide receivers are still getting on track here. So I'm just saying he did not play well in that first half. He had some issues throughout the game. I think we all understand that, but I don't think you can put 100% of the blame on him. But to your point, Jim, 100%, he's the guy that walks out there and believes we talk the coaching cliche, the most important play is the next play. I mean, I think he truly believes that. He puts the last play.
I promise you.
Whether it's
a guy,
50,
one of the few guys that have been around, he has a short memory.
Right. And that's probably the greatest quality he has.
Kentucky knocked off Florida, man. I a little surprised to see that.
I was not.
Not shocked. Ewers, how about Texas? Whoo! And losing Ewers, they didn't seem like they lost a lot when he went out because the other quarterback played well, but
yep. Hudson Card stepped up.
Man, oh man, they gave Alabama all they wanted.
Let me just comment real quick on Quinn Ewers is that he has maybe the ugliest throwing motion, but throws the prettiest football. I mean, it is bizarre. When you watch, he's got kind of like that side arm. I don't even know how he does it, but it looks atrocious. But when the ball's in the air, I mean, it is it looks good when it leaves his arm. It just doesn't look good from start to finish. But he's going to be out, I think, 4 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, but credit to Hudson Card because he stepped up. He played hurt. He played really well, and man, that was a great football game.
Let's see. The new top 25, Georgia at the top spot now. This is the AP top 25, I believe. Yeah. Last week, the Athletic had them at number 1, but now the AP has them. Georgia number 2, Ohio State at number 3, Michigan at 4, so that stays the same. Clemson at number 5. Are they really that good? I don't know. Oklahoma's at 6. USC is at 7. Oklahoma State's at 8. They've got Kentucky now inside the top 10 at number 9. Arkansas is number 10. Michigan State, 11th. BYU, 12. Miami, Utah, Tennessee, North Carolina State, Baylor, who just got beat, Florida, who just got beat, Wake Forest. I didn't see what they did over the weekend. I'm a little curious.
Wake Forest creamed Vanderbilt. That was a game for about the first 20 minutes. And then I was curious
on what Vanderbilt was going to do. So Vanderbilt's a pretender. Okay, yeah. So where was I? Florida dropped to 18th. Wake Forest 19. Ole Miss number 20. Texas at number 21. They were probably unranked last week, so they're getting love on the guise of an almost win. Penn State down to number 22. Pitt's at number 23. Texas A&M drops to 24th. Oregon 25th. And guess who I did not mention?
Notre Dame.
The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. They're gone, baby.
They're out.
I don't want to hear Notre Dame the rest of the year. I don't want to hear their name the rest of the season. I don't care who they beat, where they beat. I don't care if they beat the Dolphins on the White House lawn. They're done.
They're out.
They're done this year. They are out. And you want to be truthful? Texas A&M. They're basically out because they're at number 24. That's going to be a hard climb to make.
Let me tell you, if anybody else,
did Texas A&M's coach just sign a new contract?
Oh, I'm sure he did. I don't remember, but I'm sure he did.
Didn't Jimbo Fisher just sign a big fat new contract? He went from like $7.5 million to 10 or something.
Probably. I don't remember for sure. I'm sure you're right on that. I don't know.
It was two Sunbelt teams upset top 10 teams as Marshall beat Notre Dame. App State beats Texas A&M. It's the first time since the MAC in 2003 that a non-Power 5 notched two top 10 wins in the same weekend. So
the MAC did that?
The MAC.
That's
that
impressive.
Was Marshall was one of those. As they beat Kansas State.
Okay.
Now that they're thundering herder now in the Sun Belt with App State. Both teams just missed out on the top 25 with Marshall first among receiving votes and App State third. Okay, see, that's crap. If you go, there's no way App State is not in the top 25. Who the hell who did they beat last week?
They didn't beat anybody. They lost to North Carolina.
Okay. They scored 40 points in the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter, yeah.
based on that, based on now going to Texas A&M,
I'd still
going to rank. They're ranked to me. There's no way I'm not ranking them.
I would put them. Why would you not put them ahead of Texas A&M? That makes zero sense to me.
Exactly. You drop Texas A&M from 5 or 6, whatever it is. You're going to give them that. Why? Why are they in the top 25?
Right.
That's just.
And their only win was against Sam Houston State. At least App State was competitive against North Carolina.
Wait a minute. And how about Texas? They put Texas in because they almost beat Alabama.
Right.
Well, App State didn't almost beat Jack. They beat Texas A&M on the road. They scored 40 points in a fourth quarter game last week on the road. Give me a break, you clowns.
This is the problem with the AP. I mean, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I mean, whatever. First of all, let me tell you right now, they were ranked too high. There was too much hype about Anthony Richardson. He is right now not a good quarterback. I guarantee you Florida's going to finish below 500. I will make that. I would bet money on that because they have zero offense.
Well, that's not a shock in the SEC, especially if they've already lost to Kentucky.
Right.
Yes, I remember Jeff George. What high school did he go to in Indiana? I forget. Went on to play at Illinois. But boom. We got to take a break, it looks like. Throwing up some comments up here. We appreciate everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. No, Indiana. Well, no. Yeah, I guess Tim says Indiana's on the top of the Big Ten East. Are they?
Yes.
Just because they played a non-league game, or not a league game, but a non-divisional game.
Yep.
I want to know. Let's see. What did I just see? Nobody wants to see App State. No, that's the damn truth. Warren Central. There you go. Thank you a lot. That's where Jeff George went. Tim says only Penn State and Indiana have played a conference game in the East. Well, Penn State beat Purdue, so
right. So they're tied at the top.
Rex said the officiating in that Texas game was horrible. Fortunes cost Texas that game. Man, I didn't see enough of it, but we got to take a break. When we come back, we got lots more. Of course, we're brought to you by our good friends from Cape Ello Italian Restaurant, a part of the Wow Club, located right on the square on the northeast side. Get a chance to taste the southern traditions of southern Italy right here in southern Indiana, and it is incredible. Looking forward to being there this Thursday for Never Lose Hoop dinner. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting, Monday's show could go 3 hours all easy.
All right, I'm headed out.
No content for the rest of the week. See you, Dustin.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, what time is it? All right, we go to what, 10:40?
Mm-hmm.
10:40 even?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Yeah, I don't know if we may be doing something different on Mondays now.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let me know what you want to do.
Who's who runs who of Jeff George? Oh.
Oh, Jim Reamer just said he's not available. He forgot to let me know. But
cool.
That's fine.
Holy moly. Good. Oh, yeah, baby. What in the world is... What in the hell is that not? Why is that not coming up? Huh.
Maybe we could, well, I don't know if you want to have him on every week, but you could replace him with like Rob Cassidy.
Oh, I can't believe that. Why is the Hoosier not coming up on my computer, but it is on my phone?
That's weird. There we go. It's working for me too.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Pretty nice. Even yesterday was supposed to be really stormy. It was just kind of hit and miss. Great weekend for sports, except for being a Colts fan. My gosh, they were stinking it up the whole game, make a great comeback, and just cannot finish it out. Then have the chance in overtime and miss a field goal. And that game goes down as a tie, which a little shocked. No, I'm not a little shocked. I'm still shocked. I can't believe a professional sport organization like the NFL has ties. It's just dumb. But it is what it is. So the Colts start off. They did break a losing streak. I think, had they not lost their last 8 straight openers? So they break that streak. They just don't have a winning streak, unfortunately. Don't forget to send in your recipes and kind of build those up for the first few weeks. Bust a few out. I'm going to have to get on the scale, make sure I have not gained any weight after a second straight weekend of Fridays being at BB's with Chef JD. But don't forget, BB's Market is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live, with some of the best custom meats around. And I can attest to that. I have tried about everything. Their fillets are just, it's crazy how good their custom meats are. Five Lefts said, is Bears won? The Bears. Illinois beat Wyoming 39-6. What's that have to do with things? That was 2 weeks ago. I'm confused there. 38-6. Again, I'm confused. Pete said, the Bears, you've seen the amount of rain before, during, and at the end of that? I did not. I did not see that game. And that could not have been fun to play in. After a while, it just gets to be a pain. But, hey, a win's a win, right? Baseball's getting close to not wrapping up quite, but the White Sox are charging, baby. Can't wait to get Rick on here. Rick Bozich on Wednesday. His Sox within 2.5 games. Good for him. The Mets are plus 1.5, it looks like. The Cardinals, they've got no problems. The Dodgers. And after a shaky run, I thought Tampa Bay was going to catch in New York. But it looks like they might hold on. Yankees, that New York. But it has been getting closer and closer, that series. But now I believe that the Yankees won their last 2 to put give themselves a little breathing room. Another great week of shows. Looking forward to this week, of course. And don't forget Wednesday night out at Southern Stone Restaurant located on Patterson and Rogers. That's where you can catch Indiana football. Coach's Show with Tom Allen and Don Fischer. I think this is the third week there. Great place to eat as well as stop in and enjoy that. As Indiana now 2-0 on the season, looking to go 3-0 with this week's game coming up against Western Kentucky. Thank goodness it's not an 8:00 game. I'm really looking forward to this Cincinnati game, man. But I'm looking forward to it in a standpoint of Indiana's defense has looked pretty solid. Indiana's going to have to continue to improve on offense, man. The running game looked a lot better, obviously, but we'll see. We'll see. How is everyone's baseball teams doing? I don't know. I checked the Cardinals. They're cruising. They're fine. Oh, daggone it. Where is the it's not opening up the standings like it normally does. But they've got a comfortable lead over Milwaukee, and the Mets have kind of jumped back up. I think they're, a game and a half up? I mentioned Cardinal Albert Pujols blast his number 697th home run. Man, you sure hope he gets that. A guy that's played that long, he's that close to 700. How many games are left? I'd have to look to see how many games they have left to play, but can't be a ton. 20 maybe. He just has to hit one in 10 games. Or he ties Alex Rodriguez. Oh, he broke a tie with Alex Rodriguez. He now takes possession of the number 4 spot all time on Major League Baseball's home run list. So congratulations to him for that. I know we get a lot of Cardinal fans out there. Pittsburgh playing Cincinnati tonight. You got Monday Night Football as well. And John Boy, who have you got in tonight's game?
Say the opponent again. I was doing some producing stuff in the background. I missed who you were talking about.
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football. Well, let me look up the matchup since you didn't say who it was. This is fantastic radio, looking up the game on the spot. Monday Night Football tonight.
Well, you got to be quick.
The Broncos and the Seahawks. So it's going to be cool. So Russell Wilson with the Broncos now, correct?
Yeah, playing his old team, huh?
Playing his old team on the road. I think that's going to be tough, but I don't know. I'm going to take the Broncos in this one.
Yeah, I'll go with Russell Wilson. Yep.
There you go.
Me too. Let's see. Russ said he was just happy to see Fields throw a touchdown, as he talked about, for his Bears. Kentucky coach Stoops already a candidate for the Nebraska job. Who's that according to?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he just passed up, or he didn't pass up. He just equalized Bear Bryant's win total from when he was at Kentucky.
Yeah, I get that. And does he want to leave? I mean, he's been at Kentucky for a long time, probably 9 years now.
Yeah, and plus, and I don't know, is Nebraska going to hire somebody mid-season? I don't think he's just going to get up and leave Kentucky in the middle of the season.
Oh, I'm not saying it's – no, but I'll tell you what. If Nebraska's going to pay Scott Frost $15 million to leave, what do you think they would pay someone like Mark Stoops to come there? He's had
That's
he's had a lot of success.
Question.
He's had success at a program in a league, and arguably, well, and all right, let's just say one of the top two leagues that there are,
Yep.
Big Ten and the SEC. People want to argue who is better all they want. I don't care. So, but he's had success at a program that is not a perennial successful program. He finished second last year. He just beat Florida. He is going to be his brother had a lot of success at Oklahoma. It's all according to whether he wants to leave or not, because Kentucky can probably pay him whatever they want to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to have the money that Nebraska will have, I don't believe now. Now that Nebraska knows this new $100 million a year. They weren't getting it. For the first 6 years of Nebraska's membership into the Big Ten, they weren't getting full payouts. They are now. And now with this new TV rights deal, they're going to be getting $100 million a year. So they're going to have more money to spend. Obviously, they have people that want them to win. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they get. But that would not surprise me.
The only thing, though, that works against Mark Stoops' case is that Kentucky fans, at least Kentucky football fans, were patient with him. They knew they had to be patient with him. Nebraska fans aren't going to be patient. They're going to want success immediately. They've been hungry for years. They haven't had the success that they want since Bo Pelini. And even they weren't even satisfied with Bo Pelini.
Well, that was a screw up there.
That's what I'm saying. Does Mark Stoops want to have the pressure of having to win 9+ games every season when he can? And I don't know. Maybe he won't stay at Kentucky the rest of his career. I don't really expect him to, but
see, that's the thing. At Kentucky, he doesn't have to. He can do what he's doing right now,
and they'll keep him for life,
and they'll love him for life. But some guys want that challenge, man.
And that's what Scott Frost wanted. I mean, look what. Go ahead.
I was just going to say. I mean, also, the payout would be gigantic in difference. I don't even know what he makes a year at Kentucky right now. See if I can try to pull that up quickly, but I promise you, salary at Kentucky, it would be all right. Stoops currently makes $4.8 million per season. However, on the day the Wildcats play in the Citrus Bowl, which was last January, his raise will go into effect and he will make $6.3 million through June. Sorry. So he's
making over $6 million now.
It goes up annually, where he finally will earn $7.6 million in the final year of the amended contract. So he's got a contract that's coming up as well. Although, let's see, there's an extension. What does that say? When was this? This is 9 months ago. Mark Stoops is staying put in Lexington for a long time. Stoops currently makes 4.8 per season. Yeah, it was. But last year that his raise went into effect, it's like I said, it went to 6.3. And then annually it goes up to 7.6. I don't know when that, it doesn't say when that is though. He's already been there for 9 years. They would pay, I don't know. It's a great. Do they do the Michigan State thing and go from a coach who had been successful there, Mark D'Antoni, and to Mel Tucker, who I was like, oh wow. And then sign him to a big deal. But it has worked for them. And they would have to sign Mark Stoops to a deal that would basically be paying him double what he was paying a year ago.
You're saying for Kentucky to keep him?
No,
for Nebraska
to get him.
Yeah.
They would basically have to double his salary from a year ago, which was 4.8. But they probably have to pay him $8 million a year to go up, and of course he would go to that. But we'll see. Interesting things to talk about. Plenty more to get to tomorrow, man. Back at it, of course. Who all's on the program tomorrow, John Boy?
Obviously, Dustin Schutte will be back with us, and then we'll be joined by Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News and Chronic Hoosier of Twitter.
Our good friend Chronic Hoosier joins us, and plenty more to talk about that we couldn't cover today because there was so much going on over the weekend, whether it was in the NFL, college football. Let us know some of the things that you want to talk about as well. Make sure you hit all of our great sponsors. They are the reason we're able to do this, whether it's Reynolds Family Dentistry or Bubba's 33 in Clarksville when you're down south, right off of I-65. They are the reason we're able to bring you the content that we can. Looking forward to being back tomorrow. We've got to go head out to Tom Allen's football press conference, and we'll have all that information for you tomorrow as well. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. Big thanks to everybody on the program today. Dustin Dopirak, Dustin Schutte, of course, the Fish, Don Fischer as well, John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. But we're back tomorrow to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.